Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I legit just did my skincare, so I'm a little shiny. It's a little earlier in the morning than I typically film, but I have a full day ahead. So let's just jump in. I'm so excited. I'm doing the assumptions tag. I have been enjoying watching this lately, so I posted on my Instagram stories asking y'all to tell me your assumptions about me so that I could get ready and tell you whether or not they're true. So that's what we're going to do. Zoom me in a little bit, pull up all these fabulous assumptions. Because all in all, I think I maybe had one not so nice assumption and I got a lot of them. So I am going to be talking mostly about that and not so much talking about the products that I'm using, but I will have everything listed down below per usual. I had a few assumptions that were pretty overarching, they kept coming in and kept coming in and kept coming in, and they were honestly the same assumptions. And one of those was that I am a type A personality. I did not take that as a bad thing. A lot of y'all were like, you're a perfectionist. One of y'all, you know who you are, said you're a true Libra. And I would have to say that assumption is pretty correct. In fact, it is something, y'all, this crease. Every time I want to film, I end up with creases on my face. I slept horribly and I woke up straight on my face. Even though I'm going to be talking about a pillow that's helping me not do that, I must have pulled my old pillow back up in the middle of the night because I'm still trying to acclimate to that one. And I just said how shiny I was, so why not put a highlighting primer on top of it? Sounds like a great idea. Back to the assumption. I would have to say that is a pretty accurate assumption. In fact, it is to my detriment a lot. And I feel like as I'm older, as I'm getting older, I am trying to teach myself not to be that way, because here's the thing. I think we all can agree that perfection is not attainable. So to be a perfectionist is just putting more stress onto your life. So I am really trying to get better at that, realizing that it's just not attainable. I really don't even know why I want it to be. And it's not every aspect of my life that I'm like that, but there are some things in my life where I could be said that I am a perfectionist. And as far as type A needing to be everything in its place, I feel like I've gotten a lot better about that as I've gotten older. The only thing that I'm still very, very, very adamant about, which is not that great because Chad is very, very not adamant about it, is being on time. I despise being late. If I am not 5 minutes early, I am 15 minutes late in my mind. I just can't do it. I'm always the first one that's ready in my house to go somewhere and nobody else is. And it just eats at me. So I am having to try and get better about that. But it's a work in progress. Let's just say that. And I do like to plan. That is another thing that kind of goes under the type A personality. I am a planner. I like to know what I'm going to be doing 4 days from now. Chad doesn't care if he doesn't know what he's going to be doing 15 minutes from now. He's like, I'm going to be doing it. I'll figure it out once I do it. And I'm like, no. We need to figure out what we're doing. Even on vacation, I'm like, I want to know what we're doing now. And he's like, shut up. This is vacation. Just chill out. So I would say those are the two things that fall under the type A true Libra category. A couple of other people, in fact, I liked how one of them worded it. They said that Chad and you are crazy in love. Duh, somebody said. So if you are new to my channel, or maybe if you clicked on this video for the first time, I've been married for almost 14 years. And it was, I want to say, a fast courtship. I mean, we were together almost a year before we got married, but we were engaged about 4 months after we started dating. And Chad has been on this channel before. I just feel like everybody knows him. But if you don't, that's kind of like a background. Yeah, I mean, we are crazy in love, but I'm going to tell you, we haven't always liked each other. We are just like any other marriage. And we have had our ups and downs. We had a really big bout of a down, probably 7 years in. And, we struggled to get out of that, but we did. And just like anybody else, we are maturing every day, and we're figuring out what works, and we make it work. And honestly, we have fun together. And I think that's the ticket, in my opinion, to still being madly in love 14 years later, having no doubt you're going to be madly in love 30 years from now, Lord willing, is that we laugh. We laugh a lot. We're silly. We make fun of each other. We have fun. We just we take life seriously, but we don't take all facets of life too seriously. So yes, we are crazy in love. But again, if you're married, that doesn't come without work, and it is daily work, and it's not every day, but we are. I got a lot of people saying that I eat healthy and exercise. I live a very healthy lifestyle. I exercise a lot. One person said that I lean a little crunchy in the food, medicine, and cleaning supply department. So I feel like that kind of all goes in together. I wouldn't say I'm fully crunchy by any means. I still really appreciate Western medicine. Chad has had Lyme disease twice. I don't want to say he's had it. He has it. He has gotten it twice. And this second time in 2020, horrible year, really put him down for the count. Like, he was in the ER a few times. It is not something to be messed around with. So I am all about medication for that kind of things. And I have hypothyroidism. And to me, no oil is going to cure that. And I'm not knocking oils. People who use them are fine. That is your choice. That is a personal decision. So I'm not as crunchy on meds, but I do really pay attention to what I eat. And I feel like lots of videos in the past about this, but I lost about 50 pounds in high school. And I told myself that I would never get back to that place and this kind of ties in with another assumption, because somebody said they assumed that I was a high school cheerleader. I actually was the only one out of my group of friends that was not a high school cheerleader. If any of y'all remember the Limited 2, which I'm sure a lot of y'all do, I got one pair of leggings from there when I was growing up. And every time our moms would drop us off at the mall, that's the only place my friends wanted to go, because they were super small and petite and cheerleaders, and I couldn't fit into anything. Like, their biggest size was still way too small for me. And so that shaped a lot of my thoughts about food. Having gotten out of that and having lost my weight, it took about 1.5 years. So yes, I am very particular about what I eat. I can be too particular sometimes. I do let myself, have fun with what I eat. Typically, if we go out to dinner on the weekend or something, I'm not going to really care about what I get. Like, I'm not someone who never has a piece of cake, but I will be honest, up until probably 10 years ago, I would only eat something out of my comfort zone on my birthday and on Christmas, which was awful. I am not saying to do that, just so you know. Not recommended at all, but that's how strict I was. My friends just knew I was going to be bringing my cooler of food with me. That's just the way it was going to be. And I legit did. So yes, I'm still very particular about what I eat, when I eat it, how much I eat, that kind of thing. I don't put that over on my kids. Yes, I want them to be healthy, but I don't want to push my tendencies on them, because I'm not going to say they're always healthy. I'll say that. I eat plenty of food. Chad would never let me get away with not doing that. And I've really never even tried. I'm just very particular. I like to eat really clean. So that kind of answers that. I do exercise quite a bit. I will say that I was so adamant about exercising as well that I do think that I was overtraining, which is definitely a thing, I can assure you. And COVID, if it has done nothing positive in my life, it has made me kind of dial back a little bit, because I've not been to a gym since March of last year. But I still work out adamantly in my house, but I only do it 4 days a week versus 6 days a week that I used to. And Some weeks I only get 3 days, and I'm okay with it. Like I don't start like, oh my goodness, I didn't get my, fourth day of working out in, which is a huge stepping stone for me. And I've changed my style of workout. I don't do as much cardio as I used to do. I respond better to lower weights, higher reps. I respond really well to bar, but I do still do weights. And I do about 2 days a week of cardio versus like 4 or 5 days that I used to do. And my body has thanked me immensely. Like I feel so good with where I'm at now. So there is a fine line. So yes, I do like to eat clean. I do work out. If y'all don't know, Chad was in bodybuilding for he competed in his first show when he was 13. And then he won his last show when he was 35, and he decided to quit then. He was like, I'm going to quit on a show that I won and be done, because his body just couldn't take it anymore. When you've been training since you were 12 years old because a girl called you scrawny, like your body takes the brunt of it. So I kind of married into working out as well. But he's also a man, and he doesn't, he could eat a large pizza and lose weight. So you know how that goes. Okay, a couple of people talked about my friendships and assumed that I would be a great friend. Now, obviously, you would have to ask my friends if that were the case. But I will say, and somebody even asked, do you know your Enneagram number? I do. And I've taken that test. If any of my friends are watching and know about this, they're going to laugh, because I've taken that test so many times to try to get a different number, because I feel like everybody's number is better than mine. But I am a 6. Every time I take the test, I'm a 6. And, there's just some things I don't love about it. It's pretty spot on. But I will say that the one kind of attribute that I bring to friendships and all of my relationships that really can't be changed in any way, like nobody or nothing is going to change, is loyalty. Like once you are in with me, and once we have like created that friendship, I mean, I am loyal to you to a bone. I'm not saying that, life's not going to happen and the friendship isn't going to look different than maybe it did like, 10 years ago or anything like that. What I'm saying is that if someone that I was friends with, could still consider myself friends with, but maybe haven't talked about in years, called me up tomorrow and needed my help, like they're going to get it, because I just can't function any other way. I've always been loyal to almost to a fault, if that can be a thing. My very, very, very close group of friends are friends that I've had since middle school and high school. In fact, we're all seeing each other on Saturday. We are all pretty much unicorns. Like we've all stayed in the Nashville area, and they are my group that I can't do life without, because they know every single one of my ugly faults, and they love me despite it. And when you find friends like that, don't let them go, because we've all got some ugly faults. So I feel like in that respect, yes, I'm a good friend. Obviously, again, life happens, and I can't be sure that I'm always going to be the best friend that someone might need, but I sure am going to try. Someone said that I don't conceal my feelings very well. You would be correct. I don't. In fact, Chad often tells me to turn my head if I have a look on my face that I don't realize I have that look on my face, but it's conveying what I feel. Yeah, that happens a lot, actually. I'm very, very blunt. And someone else said that too. How did they word it? Yeah, very blunt and have no problem speaking my mind. Again, you are correct. Now, I have tried again as I've gotten older to get better at that, but it is something I've never had an issue with. In fact, I tell people, if you don't want to hear an answer to the question, do not ask me, because I am not going to sugarcoat anything. I am honest to a fault. I mean, I remember looking through my Christmas wrapping when I had a babysitter. I was in 2nd grade. I saw a stack of Amelia Bedelia books through the wrapping. I could not sleep. And I finally did, but not before I wrote a note to my parents, because I know that they were going to come in and check on me, that I had looked through the wrapper to please take that present away. I didn't deserve it. Like, my conscience cannot handle not being honest. So when you ask me something, that kind of like rolls over into, I'm going to be so honest. I'm going to tell you the answer to that question, or I'm going to tell you my opinion, whether or not you may like it. And it's something I need to work on, because it's not, honesty is always a great thing, but it doesn't mean that I have to be so blunt. And I also, going back to like, I wear my feelings on my face. I do tend to have very strong expressions that I do need to keep in check, honestly, because again, not everybody always needs to know what's on my mind. So that is something I struggle with. I don't necessarily, out of the honesty aspect, think that it's a great thing, but it is definitely a correct assumption. One person said that I would never leave my home state. I am from Tennessee, born in Nashville, raised in Franklin, if you're aware of that area, and I am still in the Nashville area. I am not going to say never. In fact, I have left my home state. Chad and I, about a year after we got married, moved to Jacksonville, Florida. In fact, all within the same week, I found out I was pregnant with our first child. I presented my thesis for my master's, and we packed the moving van to move to Jacksonville, Florida, all within the same week. Stressful, to say the least. But we were down there for about 2 years. His job took us down there. We had our first child there. And because of that, and I met a couple of really great friends that I still have to this day. And because of that, I loved that experience, but we could not wait to get back home. Chad is from a small town in West Tennessee. It's just our home. And if you have a home, if you have somewhere that you lived your entire life growing up and didn't move around, there's something about that. Like your peace is found in that certain place. And we just could not wait to get back home. And so because of that, no, I don't envision anytime soon that we're ever going to leave the home state, but I'm not going to say never. If it were up to Chad, the second the girls go to college, he'll be living in either Montana or Wyoming. If it were up to me, I'm going to wait till they have babies and I'm going to go wherever they are. So I'm not going to say never, but right now we are very happy to be where we are. Do you see that sorcery that powder just did? No powder? Powder. Ugh, so good. A lot of people said that they assumed I was a good cook. I feel like I'm a good cook. I grew up, my parents didn't have a ton of things in common with each other growing up, but cooking, they did. And so they were always in the kitchen together, and it was nothing for us to have lemon basil clam linguine for our Wednesday night meal. Like, that is just how I grew up. They loved cooking shows before cooking shows were even a thing. Before Food Network was a thing, and Channel 8 had the Frugal Gourmet. If anybody remembers the Frugal Gourmet, you will totally understand. They had VHS tapes lined up in a drawer labeled with which Frugal Gourmet episode aligned with which recipe in his cookbooks. So if they needed to go back for reference, they could. I mean, it was a legit passion for my parents. So that can't help but like trickle down to me. And I don't cook like that now just because of time, but I do on the weekends like to, cook a really good meal. Some of Chad's favorites is chicken piccata, which if you've never had chicken piccata, oh my goodness, it's so good. My favorite is Korean beef. If I ever was in a position to choose a last meal, it would be Korean beef. I love it. So yes, I like to cook. I like to bake more, which is really funny coming from someone who doesn't like to eat a ton of sugar. I actually had a baking business for about 6 years before I started makeup. And I had to quit that because once I started makeup, I didn't have time. But yes, it is a love of mine. I like to do it. I'm trying to pass that love on to my children, mostly baking, but Cortland will watch. We love like Sugar Rush and those kind of shows on Netflix. and she'll get the itch and she'll just go in and try to make up a recipe. And honestly, she's really good. She did some muffins one day from scratch. Like, she didn't follow a recipe. She just kind of guessed what it would be, which for baking, if you are aware, is like pretty much not doable because it's so scientific, and it's not like you can just throw a little bit of this in there and throw a little bit of that like you can in cooking and go. But they turned out so good. So all that to say, yes, I love to cook, and I feel like I'm pretty decent at it. I didn't really have a choice growing up like I did. Your house stays clean and everything stays in place. Oh, how I wish that was the case. And I'm not going to say I keep a dirty house. No, my house is clean. But, I mean, I have 2 kids. She'll be 12 in a couple weeks and an 8-year-old. I think anybody with kids knows the second you clean up, everything is trashed like 15 minutes later. So, yes, I do like everything in its place, but it's not always in its place. I keep a clean house, but it's not always tidy, if that makes sense. The one thing that I am pretty adamant about is I don't like to see any dishes in the sink. It crawls all over my skin. So I very rarely have dishes in the sink. But other than that, you never know what you're going to walk into. I think this is a given. You are a lover of Jesus. Yes, 1000%. He is the center of my life. And the second that doesn't happen, because I'm not going to say that there are days where he's not, I need someone to keep me in check real quick, because I would not have any of this without him. I am a very strong Christian, and I talk a lot about faith in a video that I'll try to put up in a card, because a lot of people asked about that. And honestly, I can do a whole separate video on that. So I didn't want to touch base on it too much, but I do talk about it more in a video that I did with Chad a few years ago. So I'll put that on if you want to see more about that. Someone said they assume that I am comfortable in my own skin, and I am proud to say that I can finally say yes, but I am very honest in saying that did not happen until maybe 5 years ago. I am 40 years old, and it took me that long to really get to a point where I could say, yes, I am comfortable in my skin. But I feel like, and I think everybody can attest to this, because I know that I've talked to some friends about it and they feel the same way. I feel like as you get older, you just realize that other people's opinions of you don't really hold that much weight. I care about what Jesus thinks of me, and most of the time I care about what Chad thinks of me. Some days I'm just like, whatever, I don't care. And that's about it, because I know who I am. I've figured out who I am by this point in my life. And I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. I work on my weaknesses. They will never go away completely, because I'm human. But I'm just okay with it, I'm just okay with it. And if somebody doesn't like it, that's okay. Move on, kind of, there's so many people in the world. You don't have to focus on me if you don't like me. And YouTube has really taught me that too, because while overarchingly I have, amazing followers and people say nothing but really nice things, there have been some really nasty comments. And I have to just realize, I can't give control to someone else about how I think about myself. It's a slippery slope, and it's not healthy. And I would not be an overall happy person if that were the case. So I have just taught myself to nip it in the bud. I'm only trying to truly make one person happy and proud. So, and as we speak, my very best friend is texting me about cocoa nibs. She is at Whole Foods asking me if she should get cocoa nibs. And there's no way I'm going to be able to get to all these, so I apologize. One person assumed that I have a small circle of friends and that family is all I need. I'm going to say that's pretty accurate. Pretty accurate. I find myself telling Courtland, who is my almost 12-year-old, all the time. And I know, she's in middle school. So what I say, first of all, goes in one ear and out the other to begin with. But especially when it's concerning, friends. But I tell her all the time, it is quality over quantity. And I feel like I learned that pretty young. I like to be alone. I wouldn't call myself a legit loner. My brother is a true legit, he loves to be alone. I like to have my alone time. I don't like to be how do I say this? I don't want to be pulled in 1,800 directions all the time. I want to be able to have that time where I can just go into my room or go sit on my porch and just not have to worry about anything. And as I get older, I have found that that just means not having this huge circle of friends, not because I don't want to or not because I don't have the option, but just because, I mean, I have a family. I don't have a ton of time. I have multiple jobs. We're busy, and I want to give my all to a smaller amount of circle of friends versus being pulled in 1,800 directions and not giving my best to any of them. So yes, I have a small circle of friends. I want to say I probably have maybe 5 or 6 really close, what I would call like sister friends. Again, people that have known me since I was 10 years old and still want to talk to me, which is saying a lot. And family is very, very, very important to me. Yes, very important to me. I am perceived as standoffish. I need to put some lipstick on before I do my lashes. And unapproachable. Yes, yes, and yes. I have always been perceived as unapproachable. I have been told by friends that when they first met me, they really didn't like me. I have been told by many people that they don't find me approachable and standoffish. I have been told by countless people that I don't know who walk past me in any kind of environment and tell me to smile. Here's a tip. Don't do that. Don't go up to somebody that you don't know and tell them to smile. It is so frustrating. Because, I mean, I don't know anybody that walks down the street smiling like this the whole time. I just don't. And I don't. And it's not because I'm unhappy. It's just the way I'm wired. I have a not so pretty resting face. Let's just say that. So yes, you are correct. Somebody assumed that I would wonder what it would be like to have a boy. I have 2 girls. I have definitely wondered what it would be like to have a boy. However, a lot of my friends have boys, and I find myself saying over and over again, that's why God didn't give me a boy. I don't know for any specific reason, but He knows what I was supposed to have, and He gave me 2 girls. Now, there are also many a days, trying to get some outer lashes here, where I'm like, oh, Jesus, why didn't you give me a boy? I cannot handle this preteen girl stuff, and I know it's only going to get worse. So, it goes hand in hand. But yeah, I do. Now, my youngest is a boy at heart. I feel like she is very much a daddy's girl. My oldest is a mama's girl. And she wants to be outside with him. She wants to go hunting with him. I mean, if he's out at our burn pile burning stuff, like she's out there. She wants to be with him doing what he likes to do. So I always tell him, like, he got his boy just in the form of Audrey Kate, like, because she is very close. Okay, let's do one more because this has gone super long. This one was the overarching assumption, and I almost feel silly for talking about it because if there's one thing to know about me, and I think it's why it's so easy for me to get in front of a camera and film, because it's just a camera and not people. I'm not uncomfortable in large crowds. Like, I don't have anxiety with numbers of people. I am uncomfortable being in a crowd where all eyes are on me. So if I were on a stage by myself, I remember turning to my dad literally seconds before I walked down the aisle and said, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do this. And it wasn't because I didn't want to marry Chad. It was because I did not want all those eyes on me. It gives me the heebie-jeebies. So because of that, I almost don't like to talk about this assumption because it was so nice and I kind of feel like I'm patting myself on the back. But the overarching assumption was that I am a kind person like I portray myself on YouTube. I mean, how do you answer that? I feel like I am. There are days when I'm not because, again, I'm human and things will get under my skin. But I take my faith really seriously. And if I am not portraying who I claim to believe in and have faith in in the form of Jesus by showing love to everybody. Now, please do not take that as that I agree with everything people do, because I don't. But that does not mean that I have license to be unkind to them, to not be loving towards them, to show hate in any way whatsoever. I'm a firm believer of that. And I have very, very, very close friends of mine who do things that I do not agree with whatsoever, but they are still very, very, very close friends of mine. And that's not going to change based on their life. So I'd like to say that I am, but again, there are days. But I will say with 100% confidence that I don't shut this camera off and go out and be this raging lunatic full of hate towards people. I can promise you that. So that is the finished look and the finished video. I so appreciate all of your assumptions. I so love that 99.9% of them were sweet assumptions about myself. I did not get all of them done, and I'm sorry if I did not get to yours, but I already am going to have to put timestamps on this video because I could jibber jabber all day. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure and like and subscribe before you leave so you don't miss out on any future videos. I hope you're all staying happy, healthy, safe, and sane. And then most of all, you go out and have a very blessed day.